The New York Knicks looked absolutely lethargic against the Miami Heat over the weekend, but is any of it actually a long-term concern for the team? Find out on today's episode of Locked On Knicks.
You are Locked On Knicks, your daily New York Knicks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
You are locked on to the New York Knicks. My name is Gavin Schall. I am a New York City native. I'm a credentialed media member that's been covering the Knicks for nearly a decade and the Saturday co-host of the Locked On NBA podcast. This is Locked On Knicks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Your daily podcast on the New York Knicks, giving the most detailed insight on your favorite team 5 whole days a week. So be sure to join thousands of other Knicks fans in subscribing both YouTube and your favorite podcast platform for the best insight on your favorite team every single day. And today's episode is brought to you by our good friends over at Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. All right, guys, on today's episode, first, I owe all of you an apology because this episode is about 36 hours later than it should be. I've been under the weather the last couple of days, but wanted to make sure I got something out on this game before the Knicks play the Milwaukee Bucks tonight because it feels relevant, right? I've been talking up everything Mike Brown has accomplished so early in his Knicks tenure. This was kind of the first low point right after a great preseason. 2-0 start to the regular season. The Knicks faltered in a big way in a 115-107 loss to the Miami Heat. We're going to talk about just the lethargy that was so pervasive throughout this team in this game. We're going to get into a really big night for Jalen Brunson. That was sort of the one lone bright spot in this one. And then we're going to get into what is actually concerning in a long-term sense about this game, whether it was the three-point shooting, the Knicks took 54 of them, only made 15, whether it was the play of Josh Hart or Guershon Yabusele or the bench in general. We'll talk about it all. But let's start with that point on the lethargy. There was a little bit of an explanation for this. Stephen Bondy of the New York Post reported after the game that the Knicks were going on a night of almost no sleep. They got into Miami at 2 a.m. They were supposed to arrive more like 10 p.m., 11 p.m., but there was a medical emergency involving someone on the flight crew, and the Knicks were leaving from Westchester. Hence, the Knicks did not get there anywhere close to on time. They did not get a lot of sleep. And that, after reading that, I was like, all right, that makes a little bit more sense because the energy level throughout this game for this team was just abysmal. Like, I thought one of the defining qualities of what Mike Brown has brought to the table was just like the general enthusiasm across the board for this group early this season. And you see it in what they're doing off the ball, right? It's one thing, like we've talked about how big of a difference that's been from Brown to Thibodeau, or from Thibodeau to Brown. And it's one thing to like design an offense that is heavy in off-ball movement and in screening. It is another thing to get your guys to consistently run that with vigor. And under Tom Thibodeau, there were stretches where the Knicks ran a lot of organized offense and had quite a lot going on off the ball. And certainly, at least in terms of on-ball screening actions, had a lot going on. And one of the just like constant pervasive issues they had was that they were running it at like a 6 out of 10 from an energy level. And some of that was minutes. Some of that was maybe just an understanding that, all right, whatever we do, this is likely going to devolve into Jalen Brunson or Julius Randle, or on a rough day, shout out to my guy, Alec Burks, like just ISOing, right? So what's the point? And Mike Brown has clearly gotten buy-in with that. It just was not there in this game against Miami. I don't know if that was a product of the Knicks taking the Heat lightly. I think it was more likely a product of the fact that, like, again, the Knicks didn't get any sleep. And they also did not have, like, the two defining energizers on this roster in Deuce McBride and Mitchell Robinson playing in this game, as Mitch missed his third straight game to start the season with right ankle injury management, as Mike Brown is calling it and the training staff is calling it. it. He's apparently going to miss a fourth game against the Milwaukee Bucks. At this point, like I don't think it's reasonable to have any expectation to see him anytime soon. And given the Knicks' history with injuries like this, there's a world where we get an OG Anunoby scenario where in 3 weeks the Knicks say actually he had surgery and he's out. He's out until March again. So who knows? No one does. Certainly not me. Maybe Ian Begley if he wants to tell us at some point. But Deuce was just an obvious missing piece. He has been so good for the Knicks early in this season. And none of this is to take anything away from the performance Miami had in this game. It's clear that they're going to be a little bit better than expectations. They, as you would expect from a team coached by Eric Spoelstra, they play incredibly hard. They play incredibly focused, and their bench is engaged and quite good. And in turn, like the Knicks miss maybe the guy on the team who most closely embodies the ethos of Heat basketball, maybe outside of Josh Hart, in Deuce McBride, right? Like they miss like that energy, that fight to match what Miami was bringing to the table. And specifically, they missed certainly his on-ball defense, especially his three-point shooting on a night where the Knicks put up a ton of them. And outside of Jalen Brunson did not, and Mikal Bridges shot fairly terribly in this game from distance. In fact, you take out what Brunson and Bridges did. They were combined 8 for 16 from three. The Knicks without those two were 6 for 38 in this one, if my math is correct there. 7 for 38. It was not a good showing from 3-point range. Jalen Brunson was the lone bright spot in this game. He was pretty amazing, given the aforementioned descriptor of how tired this team probably was. He had 37 points, 7 assists, 5 rebounds, 3 steals in this one, and he pretty much dragged the Knicks back into this game late as they were down. Like when he came in off the bench a couple minutes into the fourth quarter, they were down 93-81. Miami proceeded, after Brunson was pretty quiet after coming back in, to stretch that lead out to 105-87 with 6:10 left. The Knicks were able to cut that to 110-105 on a pretty nice Brunson layup where he blew by Bam Adebayo, finished with an inside hand lefty lay right side with 1:40 to go. Knicks cut it down to 5. And then Andrew Wiggins, Josh Hart was leaning into gap help. Andrew Wiggins put a 3-ball in his eye, and that was it for the Knicks comeback effort. And look, you appreciated it, right? Like they clearly like found some energy down the stretch. Brunson was extraordinary. Cat finally got going. Like he made a deep 3. It just ultimately was not going to be enough on a night where the Knicks just didn't have anything close to their A game. So is any of this actually a long-term concern for the New York Knicks? I think it's pretty clear the bench so far this season has not been, at least in terms of the new additions, not quite as good as I thought they were going to be, right? Deuce has been awesome, and that has pretty much been it in terms of a consistent presence off the bench. We've gotten highs and lows from Tyler Kolek. Landry Shamet was quite good in the first 2 games. He had a rough one. Just, I mean, as will happen with shooters, like his performance largely vacillates on his shooting as he went 0 for 4 from 3. Jordan Clarkson, bad game 1 or mediocre game 1, pretty good game 2, really atrocious game 3 against the Heat. He was 2 for 11. We'll get a little bit more into his performance, but I think Josh Hart and Guershon Yabusele are where I am most concerned. So let's take a little break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about Josh Hart, Guershon Yabusele, Jordan Clarkson, and why the Knicks bench is just not as good as it needs to be right now. But first, we want to tell you about our good friends over at Monarch Money. Let's be honest, most of us can't even name all of our financial accounts, let alone what they're worth. Between 401ks, savings, and investments, it's so easy to lose track, and that can mean leaving money on the table. That's why I started using Monarch, an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. It's helped me organize my accounts, track my spending, and get a better handle on my investments without ever having to touch a spreadsheet. I also love that it leaves me on the same page with my partner because we can see our shared goals and make better financial decisions together. Monarch's visual dashboards and smart tools make it so much easier for me to understand where my money's going and how to make it work harder for me. As someone who's a lot of anxiety over their finances, it helps me sleep a little bit better at night. So don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONAB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNBA for half off your first year. Today's episode is also brought to you by our good friends over at Game Time. Basketball season is officially here, don't I know it? And nothing beats being in the arena for those big opening games. But let's be real. Getting tickets can be a total headache between waiting in queues, surprise fees, and prices that jump right before checkout. It's incredibly easy to get frustrated when all you want to do is cheer on your team. That's where Game Time can come in, the app that gives fans the advantage. It's your ultimate life hack for scoring amazing NBA tickets fast, easy, and stress-free. I recently used Game Time to grab tickets for a Mercury Liberty game. It was in the fourth quarter. I was a couple blocks away, so I said, let me just open the app, and we found tickets for $4 a pop. I got to watch the fourth quarter. I got to watch overtime. It was so much fun, and it was almost free. I love that it's see what you pay, no hidden fees at checkout. That is a big pet peeve of mine. And their zone deals are a game changer. You pick the section, Game 10 picks your seats, and you save big. You can even find NBA tickets for under $25. Take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app. You're going to count and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. That's code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, and go. All right, let's get into some of the concern level coming out of this one. 115-107 loss to the Miami Heat. The bench is obviously where my mind goes first, and it goes to two players, Josh Hart and Guershon Yabusele. I don't want to belabor the point too much on Josh because there has to be a wait and see element here, right? We've gotten so much incredible basketball out of the guy. He is 2 games into a season where he functionally did not play in the preseason, right? He played 4, 5, 6 minutes in Abu Dhabi. That doesn't count. This is his first basketball of the year. He's warming up in real time against the Boston Celtics and the Miami Heat, right? That is likely not going to look very good. But the shooting is concerning. 2 games in for Josh Hart. He is a combined 3 for 13 from the field, 0 for 5 from 3, 2 for 4 from the line. Did not have the same rebounding effort he had in game 1 against the Celtics, where he had 14 and 19 minutes, had just 5 despite playing 29 minutes in this one, as Mike Brown continues to ramp him up. I've said it a million times, so I don't want to belabor the point, but if he is going to not be able to shoot the ball all year, he should just get the finger surgery, right? And come back when he can come back, because for the Knicks to win a championship, and we've talked about this a lot on this show, right? They are not as talented as the Oklahoma City Thunder are. I don't know if they have a talent deficit against any other team in the league, so I don't want to play that card, but they're certainly like even with the Cleveland Cavaliers, right? Who might have better frontline talent, who might have a better bench than the New York Knicks. The Knicks maybe have like a stronger, if you limit it to specifically 7 guys, like the 5 through 7 are probably better for the New York Knicks. And that's going to be the battleground in that series. But I say that to say that if the Knicks are going to win a championship, it is going to be on very thin margins. And just like we saw last year against the Boston Celtics, where the Knicks beat a more talented team, it is going to come down to shooting variance. And to win on shooting variance, you are going to need Josh Hart to shoot the crap out of the basketball, just like he did against the Philadelphia 76ers 2 seasons ago, just like he's done at times throughout his career. Somebody put out a montage of how he shot the ball in Portland, and it just looks like a different basketball player. But we've even seen that on the New York Knicks. I always reference I think it was during the 23-24 season, if I'm remembering correctly, that game against the Mavericks where the entire Knicks roster was out, and Josh just kind of had to go back and forth with Luka Doncic because it was him and Dante, and there was no one else to shoot the ball. And you saw Josh come down, and he starts like just ripping pull-up threes. Like, I cannot emphasize this enough. When Josh Hart is confident, when he's feeling good, he's not a great shooter. It might even be a stretch to call him like a good shooter, but he's like an above average 3-point shooter. And like that, we saw that for years early in his career. As a rookie, he was 40% from 3. He had a couple bad seasons. And then you go forward to Portland. He's shooting 37% from 3 on 6.5 attempts per game. His first 50 games of the year in Portland, he was taking 7-3. Oh, sorry, I misread that. He peaked in 21-22, taking 6 threes a game and shooting 37%. I'm not saying that's who he really is as a player necessarily. Like, I don't think he's that over that kind of volume, but he should be 34% from 3. I think on a great team where he's getting great looks, could he be 35% from 3? Sure, I think he has that within him. For his career, he's a 34% three-point shooter on decent volume, taking 3.5 a game. That's not bad. He's not a terrible shooter. But if his lack of confidence and the fact that he's playing with a fractured finger is breaking that, then take the time you need, buddy. Like, again, I'm going to say it every show if I need to. April, May, June, those are the months where the Knicks need Josh Hart. October through April 13th, 14th. We don't need you, buddy. It's nice to have you. It'd be great to help the Knicks get home court advantage and get a 1 seed, but that is not what you're playing for. You're playing for a championship, and a confident, healthy, functional Josh Hart is more important than the Knicks getting the 1 or 2 seed. So I will probably say that 10 more times this season if this continues, because he does not look confident in his shot. It is exactly what we've seen over the last 2 years, where he's dribbling out of open corner threes, did it once later in the game, and it ended with him spraying out to Guershon Yabusele to take a contested wing three. Like, there is just limited value to him on the court if he's not going to take the open ones. And we saw times in the playoffs, like against the Celtics, against the Pistons, like when he was willing to take and make open threes, that was a game changer for the Knicks and their offense. Weren't the only issues for him in this game, though. Like, just some bad point of attack defense. And I think this is the stuff that is going to get right for Josh and is going to click into place for Josh. But he had one possession against Jaime Jaquez where he basically chaperoned him to the rim, just was not getting into his body, zero physicality. It was not good. Some of the transition defense was bad in general for the Knicks. There was one play where I don't even know if this is on Josh, but it's possible just everyone else was in the wrong position, but he was actively trying to direct everyone around, and he was supposed to be guarding Norman Powell, but because he was looking at everyone else, he was late to get to the ball. Powell just toasted him off the dribble for a layup. That wasn't good. A couple of turnovers offensively that weren't great. Did have one nice drive where he just blew by Pele Larson for a jam. Looked off Guershon Yabusele, who was open at one point, to just clank a tough mid-range shot. It was a good game for Josh Hart. But speaking of Guershon, it was also not a good game for Guershon Yabusele, who continues a mostly rough start to his Knicks career, even though I thought he had quite a good game against the Celtics the other night. A lot of people have pointed out the weight, whether he's out of shape. I think he's maybe a little bit out of shape. He looked a bit slimmer, a bit faster on the Sixers last year. Obviously not ideal, but I think that will likely remedy itself with time. And it's possible, like, he had an injury coming out of Eurobasket we don't know about and had a slow ramp up, and maybe the Knicks are aware of that. But not a great game for him. 1 for 6 from the field, 0 for 4 from 3, 2 points, 6 rebounds, maybe the most damning stat, even though you never want to read too much into single game plus minus. He was minus 15 in 16 minutes in this one. If you want to be positive, he continues. DJ Zula has been great about pointing this out over at Knicks Film School. He continues to be the Knicks' best screener. Feels like every time he sets a screen, he creates an easy shot for someone. Like, created a wide open three for Kolek with a great screen. Had another one that set up an OG three, gets Brunson open looks whenever he's on the floor. Like, that is a really good quality that has been there in the early going. But he does not look very athletic. He frankly doesn't look like an NBA like rotation player right now, athletically. Like, there was a play early on where he tripped over himself and gave up an and one. Then the next play, Norman Powell just went right by him for a layup. Another play where he got caught on an island on Powell, and Powell caught him with his hand in the cookie jar, fouled him from 3. That was not very good. And then, like, maybe the defining bad sequence, or there were 2 of them. Like, Heat take their biggest lead of the game at the end of the third quarter, 88-81. Shamet missed a wide open corner 3. Yabu, great position, gets the rebound, completely botches the layup to put it back. The Knicks missed more good looks at layups in this game, specifically Yabu and Jordan Clarkson, than I can remember in a recent Knicks game. But down 15, mid fourth quarter, late fourth quarter, he missed the wing 3. The Knicks get the rebound. They get it to him in the post and try to carve out position. Khalil Ware gets away with a little bit of a shove on him, but Guershon was also already off balance, falls down, throws the ball away. Like, that was maybe the epitome of this performance from Guershon specifically, and the Knicks bench in general. The defense, again, was not good. Like, gambled in help, and Kolek, too, was guilty on this play where they both over-pursued on Jaime Jaquez, trying to go for a steal. Jaquez ends up having a wide open lane, spray out 3 from there. And just in general, like, I want to see Guershon, because he's a big body, but because of the athletic limitations as like a 2-foot jumper, not on the move, but off the standstill, like he really has to carve out space around the basket. And there are times where he gets switches and he has good matchups. And I think his confidence relative to the freedom that he played with on just a tanking Sixers team last year. And it's why, and I probably didn't do a good enough job talking about this with Guershon over the offseason. You want to take those March, April tanking performances in the NBA with a grain of salt, right? Because you will never play with less pressure on you. You are likely not going to lose your role. You might even get more minutes if you're playing poorly. So, like, Guershon played with a level of freedom at the end of last season that he might not be feeling right now, playing on a contender, playing less minutes, knowing he has to maximize every single second he's on the court. But he has been like, he doesn't want the basketball when he has a mismatch under the rim right now. And that needs to change. Like, he needs to be someone who kills mismatches, right? Because he's good. Teams are going to get theirs against him on the other end. Especially like the Knicks played him at the 5 in this game. It is really, really difficult to play him at the 5 with Tyler Kolek on the floor, or essentially, really, frankly, like if OG Anunoby is not on the floor to provide like legitimate secondary rim protection, Guershon should probably just not be playing the 5. And it hurt the Knicks like in his minutes, as I mentioned, with the plus minus. But he just has to be very aggressive on the offensive end. Like the 4 threes, he missed them. I don't mind him shooting them. Like he's a good shooter. They'll go down in time, but he does need to carve out space. And that is like generally my position on the Knicks shooting 54 threes or 55 threes in general in this game. But we'll get into that. We'll get a little bit deeper on what was a great performance from Jalen Brunson and some quick hitters on the rest of the Knicks in just a sec right here on Locked On Knicks. First, I want to tell you about our good friends over at FanDuel. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making a late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Again, that is $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, what's up, guys? We are back here on Locked On Knicks, wrapping up this belated recap of Knicks Heat. Seen a lot of complaints from people about the Knicks taking 54 threes. The Knicks have not shot well from three-point range in the early going of the season. I think there is a variance element to that, and I'm always of the opinion you have to judge it on a game-by-game basis and a shot-by-shot basis. Like, if the Knicks are getting good to great threes, 54 is a great number to have. If the Knicks are largely shooting contested threes, it is not so great of a number to have. And my focus goes to OG Anunoby, because I think, like, when you go across the board, he's probably the main issue here. Like, I have no issue with Cat getting up 8. That's a great number for him. He only made 2 of them. That's okay. That happens. As mentioned, Mikal and Jalen shot great. Guershon, Clarkson, Hart, Shamet, Kolek combined to shoot, let's see, 4, 8, 10, 14, 18, 1 for 18 from 3. Individually, outside of maybe Clarkson, I like him leaning a little bit more into his 2-point game, as his 3 is so inconsistent. I don't really hate the number for any of those guys. Like, Kolek's looks were all really good. Shamet, again, missed 2 end of the third quarter, mid fourth quarter that were wide open. He should take those shots every time. Josh, again, needs to take those shots with confidence. That's fine that he took 2. Guershon, 40% 3-point shooter last year. 4 is okay. Like, that is fine. OG Anunoby is where I look to, and he wasn't even terrible from 3, right? He was 4 for 12, 33%. That is okay. That is the equivalent of shooting 49.5% from 2. Like, that is a fine number for OG Anunoby. Where I take issue with it is him taking the really contested ones, because he is just not a good contested 3-point shooter. And that is because of mechanics issues I've talked about in the past. Like, his power transfer is just like really comes and goes on him. And because of that, when it's contested and he has to like speed up his shot or alter his form at all, it typically does not look good. Last season, he shot just 19% on contested threes. So those are threes with a defender within 2 to 4 feet. And he didn't take a single 3 last year, according to NBA.com, with a defender 0 to 2 feet away from him. So he knows his limitation there. He does not take tightly covered threes. He is not good at shooting even covered threes. And because of that, like, he has to be a little bit more, I don't know, conscientious. Discerning is maybe the better word in terms of what threes he ultimately takes. And just one shot from two for a guy who's 6'8" and a monster athlete, you need more. Like, the one drive he had in this game looked really good. Like, went double tween into a spin move, completely ditched Norm Powell, busted a tire on the layup and missed it. And again, he was dealing with an ankle injury this preseason. We can talk about, like, maybe he's not feeling quite 100%. But you want to see him attack the rim, especially like in a game where the Knicks did not have it going. He was not super hot from three. Like, you want some balance there. Let's see him get to the free throw line. Let's see him get some dunks, both in the half court and in transition. And again, I think he was another guy who, I want to say, fell victim, but it's ultimately on him to just like a low energy game. Like he has really benefited from Mike Brown's off ball actions and cutting off of Karl Anthony Towns with the ball in the high post. There was almost none of that in this game. So that's too bad. He did a lot of good defensively in this game. Like, and the Knicks in general were really good on defense in this game. Like, the Knicks overall this year, I think, are fourth in the NBA in defensive rating and like 26th in offensive rating. And you certainly on the offensive end expect that to balance out a little bit as the Knicks go, and maybe as their schedule gets a little bit easier. Not that it's been terrible in the early going. But he was awesome defensively. Like, three just defining plays. Ripped the lob out of the air to Chloe Ware. It was a bad pass, but it was still a sick play. Great anticipation. Stripped Wiggins and then beat him for a jump ball, I was actively looking forward to watching that jump ball, just because, like, those are two of the better athletes in the NBA. So that was cool. Had another one where he just had like just a sick chase down block on Bam Adebayo. And then maybe my favorite defensive play I've seen from him this season, he missed a three. And then it seemed like he teleported to steal the ensuing outlet pass from Davion Mitchell. Like, he's just one of those guys who looks like he's lumbering and almost limping. And you're looking at him as like, is he arthritic? Like the way he moves around the court at times looks like a guy who's actively hobbled, and then he'll go full speed. And he just looks like one of the best athletes you've ever seen in any sport. That was a crazy, crazy play. So interesting up and down type game from OG Anunoby. I promised I'd circle back on Jalen Brunson just because he was sick in this game. I don't want to diminish the performance he had. Just put a nasty move at one point on Larson where he did the MJ like fake spin back, where people on YouTube will see it, where you like turn with your right shoulder one way and then flip your hips and then shoot into the rim. Torch Larson on that. Had a really nice finish. And then just an electric open to the second half where he drew a foul, hit a midi on Davion Mitchell, danced into a wing three, then a turnaround fade on Andrew Wiggins, 9 straight. And then 2 minutes later, pull up wing three, 12 points in 5 minutes to open the second half. Key stretch for the Knicks. Something I would lead the episode with if the Knicks had come back and won this game. And then when the Knicks went on that late run, he did some good stuff offensively. Specifically that layup that I mentioned was nasty where he blew by Bam. Defensively, him and Cat were just not on the same page down the stretch. JB went under screen thinking Cat would switch it, and then Cat didn't, or at least I assume he thought that, because he just very obviously ducked under, almost like he was trying to just body Bam and stop Bam from rolling. Cat didn't move. Davion Mitchell hit a three. That stopped the 8-0 run the Knicks had to cut it to 10. And then the Knicks again cut it down to 8. Cat switched onto Davion and held up on him. JB recovered on it, but Cat doesn't sink back to Bam. And Davion just hits Bam on a little slip pass for an easy dunk. Maybe he was on another Knick to rotate there and help, but I think Cat probably should have sunk back in that situation. Speaking of Cat, another game where he doesn't shoot the ball super well. Like even though he was great against the Celtics, Cat has just not shot it well so far this season. 41% from the field, the 39% from three, largely buoyed by that Celtics game. I'm not worried about it. I think it'll come around. You want to see Cat figure it out from 2-point range and just find more offense from 2-point range in general. Like, not that I'm complaining about him taking 6 threes a game, but he should certainly be taking more than 8 twos per game, because he's just like he's elite from three. He's elite from 2-point range. And we saw that last year, right, where he was hovering around 56% from the field early last season. And he doesn't look hobbled by that quad injury, right? Like he had just like a sick pump and go layup on Khalil Ware is this explosive young player, and Cat torched him off the dribble. Had another one where he had like a chase down block. Again, like doesn't feel like the leg is really limiting him right now. Something that's hurt him offensively, like the guards need to find him in the post when he is a switch. Like if Bam wasn't guarding him, Cat was in position to cook. And there was a possession where he ran the floor, got a steal on Jaime Jaquez, and Brunson and Clarkson never even looked to him. Like Brunson probed, threw it to Clarkson. Clarkson drove, threw up a crazy shot to the point that Mike Brown like pulled Clarkson aside and talked to him after. And Clarkson was like, yeah, that's my bad. That's my bad. And then 2 possessions later, there was another one where he buried Jaquez under the basket. And again, Brunson just kind of looked him off. And on Cat's end, like he needs to put his hand up. He needs to scream for the ball. He needs to leave no doubt that he's open. Like if it's Jaime Jaquez on him, Cat should put his butt into him and bury him under the rim. Like that needs to happen. Like he needs to create no ambiguity that he's open, but Brunson still needs to throw him the ball there. Next possession, Hart gets him the ball posting by Jaquez. He scores easily. So you'd like more of that. Cat made like zero impact in the second half offensively for the most part. Like I went through my notes. I had none of them for him in the second half. Did have the big sequence with 2 minutes left where he hit a 3, then strip Bam. That was on a drive. That was where the Knicks cut it to 5. But again, just not quite involved enough. Mikal offensively was spectacular in this one for the most part. Like he had a really, really nice game shooting the ball. And honestly, like this is another one. I just wish he took more shots. He was 7 for 11, 3 for 5 from 3, 20 points in 37 minutes, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. Take 20 shots, Mikal. Like OG doesn't have it going. Cat doesn't have it going. Why is Jordan Clarkson taking the same amount of shots in 15 minutes that Mikal Bridges is taking in 37? I almost wish you could put Clarkson's brain in Mikal's body because he just needs to be a little bit more aggressive. But he was awesome offensively. His shot from 3 looks great. And I know I said it in the preseason, but that is the single beyond what Mike Brown is doing from a player personnel, from a player skill perspective. That is far and away the biggest development we've gotten in the early season for the Knicks that will affect them come playoff time. That Mikal looks about as good as he has in his career shooting the basketball right now. Ultra comfortable. That doesn't mean that he might go one of his next 14, right? But he looks comfortable. The shot looks easy. His touch looks great. That's all really good. And just his activity level, again, like he is driving, bending a defense, spraying the ball out, relocating, getting it back, and hitting a 3. Like his off-ball movement is so good. He had another one where Brunson drove and he just relocated to the corner, drive, spray. He hit a big corner 3. Just really smart stuff off the ball from him. Let's see if are there any other starters I didn't touch on. No, I think that's everything for the starters. Clarkson, I mentioned a couple times. He was just abysmal. He'll bounce back. That's his game to some extent. He's going to have nights like this, but he has been a little disappointing compared to what I hope the Knicks would get from him. And I keep saying it, like I hope he has the capacity to be quite a good playmaker. I think the Knicks were missing not having Malcolm Brogdon to play in his place in this game. Obviously, Deuce McBride is the other option there. And it's been pretty clear that Mike Brown is not completely enamored with Clarkson. And on the nights Deuce is available, he's leaned much more into Deuce. And in this game, again, Clarkson only played 15 minutes. It just felt like more than that because he was shooting every single time he had the ball, missed a bunch of layups, bunch of easy shots down the stretch. Those will go in more often than not. Just not a good game from him. Talked about Yabu. Kolek, he missed some good looks at 3. Like it was fine. Did have some bad turnovers, like one where he was doubled and just chucked into the crowd. It's been a little less careful with the basketball in his minutes this year than he was last season, where he had that 22-1 assist to turnover stretch. But there was still there was one, I'll end on this. There's one really nice play involving him where on ball, Knicks were running a Clarkson Cat pick and roll. Simultaneously, Kolek was setting a back screen for OG cutting to the rim. Shaq's pointed this out on Twitter, but Kolek's man stays with OG, tries to bump him to slow him down. But then the Knicks have this off-ball counter where Cat shorts his roll, sets a pin down screen. Kolek comes around, pops off it, nails a wing 3. That was really good play design, really good urgency running the action for the New York Knicks. All right, that'll do it for this belated recap. Again, apologies. we will have the one for you tonight against the Milwaukee Bucks on time with XJ. Until then, be good. Talk to you soon right here on Locked On Knicks.